All right, back with another vid, and I'm not gonna lie, the title kind of caught my eye. Well, that's what titles are supposed to do. So hey, kudos on you. About octopus are making fish armies. Now I was like, let's be honest, octopi are really kind of strange creature. I was like, sort of cool, just off of basic stuff that I'm not one of those to be in depth of knowing like I was like the creature is, but I was like the fact that it could squeeze into anything. I was like that I believe it had multiple brains. I was like, I mean, they could just suss a cup upside a skyscraper. There's a lot of cool things that octopus can do or whatever. Have I? I was like, I want to say, have I tried octopus before? I want to say I have. I think it was very, very like chewy in a way. I know I'm just sort of getting on topic about octopus or whatever, but I think it'd be cool if like basically these creatures who seem like they are also, I mean, I guess smart is relative to basically what we sort of as people sort of describe as smart, because a lot of us will say like, oh, animals aren't as smart as humans, but then when you see what the things and how the things that they do, then they are really smart. But then also we're also trying to compare them onto a level of other animals and not people, and that's where a difference comes in of how smart or very sentient or whatever a creature can be or whatever. But like I said, this is just all stuff that I was just like, just kind of just come by. I was like, I'm not somebody to be over here, but like I said it, like no, let's not get out on that. I just like to hear about interesting stuff. So anyway, let's just go ahead and see what this is all about from the scishow, and maybe we learn something here as well.
We have seen them open jars and even predict the outcome of soccer matches back in the day. That one was a fluke, but they are clever creatures. Case in point, octopuses in the wild are capable of gathering posses of fish to go hunting for them, and if the fish don't want to cooperate, researchers caught the octopus's response on video. Keep watching to see what happens next.
Well, of course, well, I will now.
Meet Dave. Dave is a day octopus. Dave, like other octopuses, is very smart. If you try to come up with examples of clever animals, you might think of primates or crows or dolphins, but if you only come up with vertebrate animals, the cephalopods would like to know your location. When looking at the ratio of brain size to body size, cephalopods, including octopuses, fall in the same range as most vertebrates and have a much higher brain to body ratio compared to their fellow invertebrates. In this case, bigger certainly is better. Octopuses use these large, complicated nervous systems to perform some really neat behaviors. Perhaps the best known is their ability to camouflage. This requires taking in incredible amounts of information about the world around them, processing that, and sending out neural signals throughout their body to change both the color and the texture of their skin to hide better. Octopuses also seem to be able to solve complex problems and learn. They use the suckers on their tentacles to pry open hard
I ain't gonna lie. Is that not kind of what we sort of do with people when we get online, to be honest, for the most part? I was like, we sort of do camouflage in a thing. Where it's like your avatar could be different. You could choose like a little like AI version of yourself. Sometimes we'll let you change voices. I was like, we can't obviously do it through ourselves over like our pigment and stuff like that. Probably get us in a lot more trouble. But I was gonna say, like, we sort of do this in our own technological way or whatever like that. Except for ours don't have any other purpose at all. Probably more so nowadays than to be asses to each other. But anyway, keep on going.
Shelled foods and are able to figure out how to open lidded jars to get to the yummy octopus snacks inside. There's even evidence that some octopuses can learn just by watching another octopus complete a task. So we know that octopuses are smart. And they're also very food motivated, which brings us back to Dave. Like most octopuses, Dave typically lives alone. Yet here he is, hanging out with a bunch of other fish. What are you up to there, Dave? Not only is our allegedly solitary Dave hanging out with these fish, it turns out he is hunting with them. The main characters that can be seen hanging out with Dave are blue and yellow goatfishes and blacktip groupers. Dave and the fish all like to munch on the same sorts of food, including smaller fish, crustaceans, and mollusks. So cooperation could benefit them all. As the fish are exploring around to find prey, they signal Dave that there's some good food underneath a specific rock, and then Dave comes over and envelops the rock with his body to trap whatever is underneath as a tasty snack. In this process, some prey often escape for the fish to munch on as well, so all parties are benefiting here. Dave gets good intel about where the food is so that he has to make fewer feeding attempts, and his fishy friends get the leftovers from whatever he doesn't catch. We'll see how they work together in a second, but first, we need to keep the lights on. This SciShow video is Dave and the other fish are working together. But how do they do it? Well, researchers at the Max Planck Institute of Animal Behavior in Germany spent hours and hours videotaping octopuses to figure out what was going on. We're calling all of these octopuses Dave because it's funnier that way, and also it may or may not be a reference to penguins of Madagascar. It turns out different characters in the group have their own roles to play. The fish are the scouts, and Dave is the decider. The fish venture out to look for the hot new place to eat, and Dave decides whether he wants to go or not. When the fish move to a new spot and Dave follows, the researchers call this pulling. If Dave doesn't follow, the fish will come back. The researchers call this anchoring. From this pattern of movement, it's clear that Dave is calling the shots. But in addition to being the leader, Dave is also a bit of a bully. The goatfish in this group are typically good collaborators, but the blacktip groupers can be a different story. The blacktip groupers are ambush hunters and tend to stop moving when they spot prey, so it's relatively easy to tell when they've got a lead. But sometimes they don't carry their weight, and when that happens, they get punched. And I'm not being metaphorical here. The researchers refer to a tentacle whack as punching in the paper. We're gonna watch that one more time because I thought it was funny. All right, one more time. Rude, Dave! Let's work on other ways to communicate your frustration. Punching is especially frequent when the goatfish are less prevalent, so more of the crew is made up of blacktips. If the blacktips aren't doing much, Dave will just start punching them to tell them to get back to work, which is like a very toxic work environment. While Dave is being a bit of a jerk, his jerkiness, or leadership as it is defined by the paper, is enabled by some pretty complex cognition. Leadership in animal groups exists along a spectrum from despotic, like a dictatorship with one animal making decisions, to democratic. Typically, if there is a single leader, the leader will make a decision about where to go and the group will follow, so leading from the front. Dave, however, is unusual. Dave leads from the middle. His fish minions make suggestions about where to go, and Dave somehow takes in all of that information and makes a decision about whether he wants to go there or not. The rest of the fish follow his lead, even if his lead is just staying put. This behavior is also surprising because Dave is mostly a solitary guy without a lot of social training. Most hunting groups emerge among social animals, where they learn social cues and how to behave in a group from other members of their species. So it's a bit unclear where Dave is learning his skills from. Finally, most groups of animals that hunt together, like wolves or orcas, are groups of the same species. Even within these groups, often this isn't true collaborative hunting, but instead a group of individuals hunting opportunistically at the same time, and if they manage to help each other, that's swell. For hunting to be truly cooperative, different individuals need to assume different roles, like what we see with Dave and his fish pals. This type of division of labor has been observed in some multi-species assemblages of hunting groups, notably moray eels and groupers. But even then, the group dynamics of the moray eels and grouper are simpler than how Dave influences the fish. When groupers are hungry, they will signal to a moray eel, and the eel will join the grouper on the hunt. Each one uses different hunting strategies to force their prey into the mouth of one or the other. Groupers hunt in open water, while morays hunt among the rock crevices, so between the two of them, there isn't really a place to hide. But when the groupers or the morays are disappointed in each other's work, there's no negative feedback mechanism, unlike Dave, who, as we have seen, makes his displeasure known. Dave is out here overcoming the odds of his antisocial upbringing, bossing around other fish and making it known when he is not happy with their performance. That is some seriously high-level cognition. I, for one, welcome our new cephalopod overlords.
Alright, look, the fact that he is punching them, that is actually kind of crazy. That's kind of crazy. The fact of just like, hey, need to get your attention, uppercut. Like, that is kind of crazy. Like, it's like he's almost learned from like watching TV or being on the internet for enough time. As far as him learning about like where like he basically was a solo person, and then all of a sudden he became, in this grouping or whatever like that. I was like, and they're just sort of wondering about it. I was like, but at the same time, if you tell me that Octopus can look at other octopus and stuff like that, and see how and learn that way, or see how like that octopus like maybe like it's like opening up food and things like that. Why is it so hard to believe that basically they could just see like they could just be chilling there and it's like, oh man, after a couple of days I ain't eat or whatever, man, this is such a struggle, and then just seeing how like, oh buddy over here got food that way, and they got food that way, and then just started being like, if only there was a system or whatever, where it could have just started as like, couple, then got some more people in there. All of a sudden, guess what? Corporation. So I was like, obviously, he sort of did like how white people do. After a while, you start seeing like, oh, that does that there, that does that there. How do I make these things work for me? And then I also make sure that they get the leftovers and I get them back to work. I'm just saying, I was like, I feel like if people could do it, other animals could do it, why not them at that type of way? So I was like, at some point, I was like, the octopus just sort of probably just like kept on scouting and learning or whatever like that. I really thought the octopus was going to do something crazy, or it was just going to like pick up the rock and be like, ugh, or whatever like that. Then it's basically out the prey or whatever. But now I think that's kind of cool. Listen, I was like, I was like, the bullying situation, that's a lot different in the animal kingdom than with people or whatever. But anyway, if you like the video, I was like, do all the stuff you're supposed to do or whatever. Talked about octopus. You maybe got some facts, something like that. Let me know. Until then, I'm out.